Okay, welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by BetUS. Um, mm, okay then. I'm going to start out by this with this shout out to T Squared Social. I had a watch party tonight. A bunch of people showed up, very enthusiastic Knicks fans, and it made me think back to my days bartending and managing bars and all that sort of stuff, because bars I used to work at were far less reputable establishments than T Squared Social. And we used to employ, we were big bars and we used to employ 4 bouncers because we were the sorts of places where fights would often break out. And I have to give a compliment to everybody at T Squared Social because, this was one of the places that I grew up working at. This would have been a night of fisticuffs, but no, we had a great turnout, a lot of great Knicks fans, and higher caliber of individual than that used to inhabit the places that I was at. Shit, I would have been tempted to throw a punch or two if I was a patron who came out to watch this effort tonight, and I use the term effort loosely. I've had a couple hours to think about how I was going to open this post-game show because the result of this game was decided early in the second quarter. You knew it when you saw it. Nothing left to the imagination. Thunder went ahead by 20 whatever points it was early in the second quarter, and you just knew it. There was no way the Knicks were going to make a comeback in this game. There were no way the Thunder were going to allow the Knicks back in this game. And I've been thinking for the last 2 hours whether it's going to be an angry post game. Was this going to be a rationalizing post game? It's going to be a wishy-washy post game. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Let me start out by just saying what post game this is not going to be. This is not going to be, they shot 52% from 3 and we shot 12%. It's not a made up number. That's actually what we shot. It's not going to be that. This isn't going to be wait till we get Mitchell Robinson back. No. This is not going to be any of that. This is not, nothing about tonight can or should be written off due to circumstance or bad luck or any such thing. So let's get that out of the way right now. And then the other side of the coin, this is a little bit of a tougher sell. This isn't going to be a post game where I sit here and tell you that everything is broken and this team is never going to win anything as currently constituted, and their theory behind this roster is incorrect, and it's never going to work, and the coach needs to be fired, and whoever else needs to be traded. It's not going to be that either. Even though there were times tonight where it felt like a response of that nature would be appropriate. And I will try my darndest to honor any feelings anybody may be in after this game, which would, result in saying that they want some of those things to happen, or that they don't believe in any of this, any of the long-term belief of this team. I can't go there either, because at the end of the day, this is year one of this experiment, and I say experiment purposefully because they're definitely trying something here, and I'm going to give it time. And nobody wants to hear that right now, but at the end of the day, I am going to give it its due. They've earned that. The front office has earned that. This coaches earned that. The main components of this roster who have been here for a little while have earned that. They've earned the right to, you know, give it a real go. But right now, this hurt, and it hurt in a way where, you know, it's not even about the expectations, because this team obviously came into this year with a lot of expectations and with a lot of high hopes, and they have made good on many of those throughout the course of the first half of the season. 9-game winning streak, the offensive rating is what it is, all of that stuff. It's not even about that. I think it's more about that since Leon Rose took over, it has been this slow build, where it's been step after step and piece by piece. And first it was Randall, and then they brought Brunson, and then they got Hart, and it was just little addition by little addition. And then there was this seismic summer before this year in which the team took, perhaps by necessity, because, and appropriate that we're having this conversation tonight, because Isaiah Hartenstein took the money, right? And once Isaiah Hartenstein took the money, and I don't blame him for that, and I'm happy he got a nice ovation tonight at the Garden, because he deserved it, because he's one of my favorite Knicks of all time, and that will never change. But like, once that happened, everything, like, they needed to reassess everything, because he had been such a fundamental, instrumental part to this team, and that led to the cat trade. And they had already done the Mikal Bridges trade, even though when they did the Mikal Bridges trade, they probably knew that the Hartenstein was going out. So that I put those two things in conjunction with each other. And in doing both of those moves, and we've had so many conversations this year about, like, did they lose their identity and this and that? It's not about their identity. Like, you look tonight, and it's funny, they actually had twice as many offensive rebounds as the Thunder. So, like, and that was one of the talking points early on this season, is like, oh, that last year they got all these offensive rebounds and they won these games in these gritty ways. Like, it's not as basic as that. It's about that over the course of 4 years under Tibbs and with this front office, and they got, and really it's 2 years, because that's when Brunson came. And Brunson was kind of like, once they got him, it was like, okay, now the clock really starts. And over the course of that time, it was, we're building this thing up. And Brunson was the foundation of the whole thing. And he still is, to be very clear. Bit by bit, piece by piece. And then you did what you did this summer, and you ostensibly, in those moves, catapulted yourself up a notch, up a tier, into a different stratosphere of NBA contention. Whereas you went from pretender to contender. It is the hardest leap to make in all of sports, and I would argue that it is harder to make in the NBA than any other sport. And so you tried to make that leap. But in doing so, you did shake something. You did because you had to bring in these new pieces. And it's not even like the character of the team was disrupted, because I don't believe that is the case. But you made a new team. You're depending on what you think about Karl-Anthony Towns versus Jalen Brunson, either your first or second player, best player is a new player. And then depending on what you think about Mikal Bridges, and I understand he did not have a good night tonight, but either your third or fourth best player, right? So like when you make those sorts of changes, and then you send out other depth pieces, you send out DiVincenzo, obviously, like you kind of need to not start from scratch. It's not starting from scratch, but your foundation was shaken and everything gets shaken to its core. And why am I going on and on about this? I'm going on and on about this because a couple of days ago, Josh Hart talked after the Magic game about we need to decide what kind of team we are. We're not always going to shoot well. We're not always going to have energy. Got to get wins. And then him and Jalen Brunson went on their podcast, and they talked about what a big game this Oklahoma City game was going to be as a measuring stick game. I found that interesting. And so to go out there tonight after you have made these proclamations and get absolutely decimated says to me that if your goal is to win an NBA championship, then the biggest questions that you have to answer and that you have to be certain about what you are, about who you are, about what it means when a team comes into your building and faces you in any building, let alone the world's most famous arena, that those questions remain unanswered. And tonight, this Knicks team felt like a team that was not only uncertain, but that didn't know where to look. And that was distressing to me. As someone who has propped this team up, as someone who has defended their growing pains over the course of the first half of this year, it was a reminder, that this stuff takes time, but that, you know what? When you're trying to get to the top rung of the ladder, there is no formula. And you have to earn it, and you have to do it, and you have to prove it. And there's no guarantee. You could do all the things, right? You could make the trades you think are the right trades to make, and I've defended every trade that they've made, and I still will defend every trade they make or that they have made. But you still have to, you have to do it. And until you do it, there's uncertainty. And right now, after that game, I know I sat here, well, not here, I sat in T-Squared Social a week ago, and I said, I know they lost this game, but this, to me, this was proof of concept. And I'm sitting here a week later, and I really feel like I need to take that back. I really feel like I need to take that back. Because, this game, the game that OKC played against Cleveland the other night, and, I mean, pick any Boston game when they're at their best, just look at Boston's run last year. There is a very clear top tier of teams in the NBA. There's only 3 teams in it, but there's a very clear top tier. And the Knicks, I thought maybe for a while this year, they existed in the gap between tier 1 and tier 2. Again, trying to climb up that ladder. They're not in that tier. They're not in it. And again, like we could talk about like, get Mitch back and make a trade and this and that. Right now, based on what we saw tonight, again, give me shooting percentage. Whatever. I don't care. Not that I'm not gonna sit here and say it doesn't matter. But when you get run off your own floor in the way that they did, you're not there. You're not there. And again, that's disappointing. It's really disappointing. And I don't really know what else to say. Um, I I think that the bones of this team, again, and when we talk about the bones of this team, what are we talking about? We're talking about a team that thinks that it could be good enough defensively to win a championship with Karl-Anthony Towns as their 5 and Jalen Brunson as their 1. I still think the bones of this team can get it done eventually. I don't think that that is a failed experiment as of right now, but we haven't seen enough to know that for sure. And tonight was a reminder of that. So I'll be very curious to see what happens from here on in with this group. I'll be really curious to see how they respond on Sunday. I'll be curious to see how they respond over the next few days, over the next few weeks. This to me was a core shaking loss in the way that it happened. Like, and I'll end with this. I'm Autograph. I love you. You've been a wonderful sponsor. There's not gonna be an Autograph signature moment of the game tonight. Sorry. Shout out to Autograph. Go download the Autograph app. Use code KFS. No signature moment. The signature moment of the game, the Autograph signature moment of the game, is me saying that there was no Autograph signature moment of the game. How you doing? Figure out what team you're going to be. Figure out what team you're going to be. Because, like, you got all the pieces, man. Got all the talent in the world. We've seen it at times. We have seen it. And now comes the hard part. They know what the standard of excellence is. They saw it tonight. That Oklahoma City team, man, incredible. And they deserve all the credit in the world. But for as wonderful as they played and as well as they shot and as dominant as they were defensively and as hard as they made New York's life when New York had the ball, and I'm obviously going to have a certain perspective because I'm sitting here wearing a Knicks sweatshirt. To me, this game wasn't about Oklahoma City. This game is about the Knicks. Figure out who you are and figure out what you're going to be. Not saying it's easy. And I'm not saying it's rare. Every team, doesn't matter who you are, every team that has ever done anything worth a damn in the NBA has had moments like this. Moments of extreme challenge. This was their moment tonight. And now it's up to them. It's up to them how they were going to respond. And no one can answer that question for them. They have to answer it for themselves. That's all there is to it.